Go.
Okay.
Howdy, everyone. Zach, can you confirm that we're unmuted?
Yep. Looks like we are live, and everyone should be audible.
Cool. So, welcome everyone on the call and everyone watching. This is our last sort of one of these live streams where we go through the campaign of Given Time, and it's going to be a special one. We're going to cover a lot of pretty big story beats and a lot of end game content, and we have an extra guest tonight. Maybe we'll have another one too before the stream is over. We shall see. But I'll introduce Craig Adams, and then Craig, pass it on to the next person in line.
Oh, sure. Thanks, Richard. This is Craig D. Adams, Superbrothers founder, Bozo, creator, and co-creator with JETT, along with Patrick at Pine Scented. Lo these many years, and I guess I'll pass it over to Patrick.
Yep, Patrick McAllister from Pine Scented, co-creator, worked with Greg a long time on this project, and mostly I was doing more of the technical lifting stuff. So, yeah, it'll be fun to chat about kind of how Given Time winds down. And then Zach piloting the vehicle.
Yeah. Hello, I'm Zach. Worked on JETT for like about 2-3 years, I think. Done everything under the sun between like just level design, puzzle design, as well as QA lead, DevOps, and a couple other things. Basically, whatever needed to be done, that would help with it.
Yeah, I like to call you the dev powerhouse down there in the trenches, making a lot of things happen, including the design elements of Given Time and shaping all that stuff, and getting it ship-shape with Richard in orbit as a design contributor, and then Patrick, the kind of atlas holding up the Earth on the technical side, and then down deep in the design. So you guys have been doing a couple of installments here, and is it true that we've got just a couple more brine wisps still to spark? Is that where we're at?
We could take a quick look. But I think we have actually a single one left for right now, and then we have we had like this penultimate one, then we have like a final one.
Okay.
So, whoops, we did most of that earlier. So today at least to start off with, we're going to kind of just focus more on exploring, and I think I'm going to target some collecting more goat bloom around the world to begin with. Just because I personally really enjoy that like modality of like searching and popping and just seeing that number go up.
Yep, that
sounds good.
Good little dopamine hit, and really kind of I think I was going through one of your more recent posts, Craig, kind of retrospective of some of the inspiration, and that sort of Goka Bloom vibe. Not only when I first played it in the game, but when I think you touched on it in one of your posts, there were some parallels to Flower there, and I wondered if you could maybe am I connecting dots, or is there something you could speak on there?
Yeah, for sure. I mean, for Patrick and I think we were drawing inspiration from a lot of video games that involve 3D motion, be they racing games or kind of like wave race, snowboarding, that kind of stuff. But if you kind of fast forward to the 2000s, there was fewer and far between the kinds of video games that were trying to push at that genre space and do different things. But that game company's Flower was definitely a notable game that was definitely on our radar. Like, you don't think of it as a vehicle game because it's the wind or a flower petal, but you are whipping around in 3D space and doing all that kind of stuff. And it was so well presented in Flower. They did such a great job of it, and it felt so good. And it felt great just to be bringing life back to the world It was kind of a powerful visual statement, a very satisfying thing. And with JETT, we kind of had a lot of inspiration from what they were up to, and also with Journey. But then we had all these other ambitions, that we wanted to, build things out and kind of give you even more of a game, more to sort of sink your teeth into, give you story and give you all these kinds of systems and kind of not end up, with something that's quite so sort of like linear and predetermined.
Yeah.
But yeah, that the popping a goat bloom and watching as the sort of like fruiting bodies of the goat bloom bip, 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 sort of like come out of the ground and bring all that color to the scene is definitely a touchstone that you can kind of feel from Flower.
Definitely a very satisfying part of the whole experience of bolstering a goat bloom.
Yeah, and the game is sometimes, especially in the Far Shore, the characters, the plot, they can be a little dour. And so it's nice to have things like that are sort of simple, satisfying, and colorful. So where are we at now? We're in, this is like Ozu's stormy coast, and...
Yeah, so
what do you...
I've got a void goat bloom that I'm looking to bolster here, but we need to wait for some phosphines to show up. So I've popped into Twilight, hoping that a couple would start showing up shortly, but I'm not seeing a whole lot at the moment.
What a crazy looking video game. The like the twister and the sort of like god rays shafts of light, and then all the atmospherics. It's just like yeah, a lot going on. Looks cool.
Oh, yeah.
Good sized twister too.
Oh yeah,
Yeah.
Twilight is one of my favorite times because of, you see those pop up and it's like, oh, that's fun.
Oh, and you're doing some Mario World gliding right now to get where you're going.
Oh yeah, we're just staying a little higher up in the ground just because, it looks cool and it's fun to get like a little bit more of an aerial shot of this area since we normally are so, especially in Given Time, we're like in the trenches here, so it's fun to just kind of hop up a little higher and just see what's happening.
And this is definitely a technique that
pro view of the game.
Yeah, this is definitely a technique that you develop over time. This sort of little balancing act of kind of maintaining altitude, because the JETT does not. The JETT likes to be pretty close to the ground typically, so hovering like this takes a. It's once you kind of get it, the muscle memory just sort of locks in, and you can maintain your hover for a while. But yeah, Zach's making it look pretty easy.
Yeah, it's the same. It's a standard Mario World cape rhythm, I feel like. Just tilt back a little bit every now and then, and you can maintain altitude, which I recognize not everybody is 100% familiar with, but that was the reference there. Oh, so that's the Void Goat Bloom?
This one's a different one. So this one's a... yeah, there we go. This one is one of the electric Void Goat Blooms. So there was, I think those are only used in the finale of the campaign. There's a couple scattered around Given Time that you can open up with eels.
Right.
And so there are 2 Void Goat Blooms, I think, in Stormy Bay and Given Time. But we just gotta wait for... I think I'm gonna go just sleep until the gloaming and then go grab the phosphines that should appear by then. I think there's a couple out here.
Pretty woolly up here.
Oh yeah, we got a lot of rain and storms happening. I don't know if we've got this yet.
I was gonna say, so like during the development, one of the concepts around the goat bloom that I don't know how much we've kind of talked about publicly was how they were kind of like intentionally trying to be like poke the right things in humans' brains to like make them want to bolster them in like this kind of weird symbiotic way. I don't know like how much we've talked about how much it ended up in the science log, but I wonder if there's anything interesting to touch on there.
Yeah, I feel like there's a cool idea there that is in JETT in a few places, but there's also like a million other ideas, so that one doesn't come through super crisply, but it goes back to something that actually I've noticed. I don't know if you guys are watching The Last of Us, the HBO show. I'm a big fan of Craig Mazin, who's the showrunner there, and he was drawing the connection, from the kind of fungal zombie thing they've got going on to, if you remember the Planet Earth series that David Attenborough did like 15 years ago, there was this section about insects and fungus, and I think everybody kind of remembers this if they've seen it, where certain types of fungus would get into insects, into ants, into the brains of ants, cause them to sort of behave in a way where the ant has no agency. The ant is just compelled to, climb a tall strand of grass, and then, its head pops open with spores, sending the spores out and sort of furthering the survival of this fungus. And anyway, pretty impactful, probably inspired a lot of different ideas, but we did have the thought in a few places in JETT that that's kind of what's going on with May and with Jones, that they had agency up to a certain point, and then through the story events of the Far Shore, something happened, and now we're not 100% sure if they have full agency, because it does feel as if being compelled by something, by the thing inside of Tor to kind of go here and do this, and go spark these brine wisps and gather them up. For what purpose? We don't know in our conscious mind yet, but we know that we've got to do it. So I remember that concept being in place for the kind of like big background plot element. As for the phosphenes, I don't remember if that concept fit into that specifically. Do you remember, Patrick?
Phosphenes.
Or was that what you were saying? Or
I was talking about the goat bloom.
Oh yeah, okay.
Yeah.
Yeah, the goat bloom was sort of tied into that mycelial network type of stuff.
Yeah.
And that's very fitting considering what we're going to be playing in this stream. That little bit of a deep lore there. That's really cool.
Yeah.
Yeah, there's a lot of little nuggets of delicious deep lore, but they're only really delicious if you kind of like have studied the universe of JETT and traversed it entirely, and then you're like, oh, that's a funny little shading to that meaning, or that like it deepens my appreciation of this or that. But yeah, a lot of ideas in the project over the years. These phosphenes are looking good.
Oh yeah, we've got a whole cadre of friends following us now.
Yep. More the merrier.
Open on up and get bolstered.
2 for 1. Well done.
Man, it's looking cool.
Oh yeah, as hard as it is to fly around during the gloaming, like, it's a lot of fun. Like, I love how the goat grass just kind of like glows with everything else, and it's just like, ooh, that's satisfying.
Yeah, we kind of just pulled out all the stops visually.
Oh yeah.
That's pretty neat.
I don't think there's not too many more. We're gonna head to a shelter now since it's a little later in the evening.
It's that time.
Yeah, I'd rather not get murdered.
Oh, yeah, Dreadwave's coming. Time to hit the hay.
Oh yeah.
This is a nice shelter. I like this place.
This one's always definitely one of my favorites. Kind of come and hang out here and kind of,
A little bit of tree cover, but nice views. I would give it a good Yelp review.
Would be a good option.
Yeah, if you tweet at JettXYZ, I've got my eyes on it. and or Phosphine. Richard's probably got eyes on his. Hard times communicating when Steam chat's not working and Twitter's whatever Twitter is in 2023.
It's I feel it's kind of like May and not being able to communicate with a whole lot of her crewmates during Given Time, right?
Speaking of Tor earlier, can we get a camera pan? Tor's looking pretty different right now.
Oh yeah.
Oh yeah.
Right.
Let's go take a quick visit to one of the locations from the far shore. Up here, where you meet up with the scouts on Ozu and talk about the destroyed comms gear.
Oh yeah, memories.
Oh yeah. I always like the view from up here.
Yeah, it's a good spot. Yeah, and Tor's got that prismatic phosphorescence going strong.
Yes.
Adds a nice little bit of color to the world.
I love this track in the mornings. It's one of my whenever I take a little nap, if I need to start my day early in the morning, I was like, oh yeah, get to listen to that lovely track.
Yeah, we had an early version of this way back, and I don't know, I fell in love with it. It's so good.
Yeah, it's been in there since 2014. I bet we had some build where you wake up in the morning and go adventure around in like a proto with some of the far shore concepts. And yeah, we had Andy looped in back then, and this song goes back to those days.
Speaking of Andy and lovely music,
yes.
Just a reminder here, Craig, you can speak on that.
Oh, sure, yeah. We got the new JETT Given Time OST out there today, and there's some comms about it on Steam and on Twitter and whatnot. But yeah, Andy's sort of Given Time soundtrack has been added to the sort of big soundtrack that you can get on Steam and elsewhere on PC storefronts. If you go to like Apple, Spotify, those kinds of places, you'll find it as like a discrete album. And there's some words from us up on Steam, but my words about it would be that it is a great album, as you'd expect from Andy. But this one in particular, I just love it. It's got a really nice shape to it, whereas the Far Shore OST had so much music to it, and it's great music, but there's so much of it that it doesn't really feel like an album. It's kind of too big for that. But with Given Time, I don't know what it clocks in at, but it's sort of album length, like 50 minutes or something like that. And I don't know, for me, it really just like, it takes me on a journey through Given Time, which contains a lot of these like flavors that recall the Far Shore. And then of course there are, like some highlight songs here and there, like Aloft being that kind of like peppy number that we put in the launch trailer, and the sedate and majestic Given Time, which is a song that goes way back with the project and finally found its kind of ideal place in the project, I think, like in the center of this soundtrack and in the middle of this campaign. So yeah, soundtrack is out there and it feels great. That's a really good one.
Technically, it's a bop. That's what the kids say.
I don't know, but is it a bop? I feel like it's kind of too heady for
a bop
stats. A couple of songs are a bop for sure. Yeah, no, it's a good collection.
I think these are the last two goat bloom that I'm going to be trying to snag, and we've got some electric or voltaic goat bloom, but we have to like carry eels halfway across Ozu to get them.
I'm not hearing a lot of game audio right now. Is that just a me thing?
There should be audio coming through on your end. It is
Okay.
showing up on stream, so.
All right. Maybe it's just a little quiet. Yeah, okay, cool.
So it's a little of it might be going through Skype on a little bit on the quiet side, but
Mm-hmm. Cool.
Need to keep both of these guys. We're gonna have to get up. So,
The Cliffs of Ozu.
oh yes,
Nice place.
I do enjoy.
Yeah, this is a cool spot. Not one I spent as much that much. Like it's whenever I come over here, I'm like, oh, kind of. I don't know that I got over here a lot.
Yeah,
It's a
there,
funny game world. There's big, but it's finite, and you can't explore it all and remember it all. But yeah, it's still big enough that you're just like, oh yeah, right, this place.
yeah, that spot, depending on how things go in the Far Shore campaign, when you're trying to get the comms gear out of the Orig Kolos, like one of these meadows, you'll spend some time in potentially, but
That
he might unburrow somewhere else, so you might not really come here. So.
Huh.
Yeah.
I think that spot, like, really that specific one where it's kind of more out on the tip. It really just has one of these. It just has a goat boom on it, and that's about it. I think that goat boom might also only be there after you deal with the comms gear situation. So it's just kind of a cool spot. I think looks like we've got one more over here.
Speaking of goat bloom, that was a ton of goat bloom that was sprouting up earlier. That was cool.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, and I don't know, maybe you should touch on a little bit how you're finding all these. I mean, you may remember all of them, but you're probably using some slight assists.
I can demo this a little bit. If we look out here in the distance, you can see that white pillar that matches up with this white signal. The white blocky signal represents an unbolstered goat bloom, whereas bolstered ones don't generally have the blocky signal. So right here, I think this specific signal represents, I think it's land of some sort. I'm not 100% certain. So, it's like, it's a very small detail, but you can kind of take a look. I think the science screen will also show.
Yeah, it probably does.
Yeah, you can
Shows
see,
the
like,
associated signals.
yeah. So anything that has a signal will have its associated signal at the top of its science entry. So,
Trusty Scout OS.
there's a lot of information in there.
Yeah.
ISA was busy entering in all that data.
Yeah.
I think this one might be another lupine print. It is! These ones require...
Oh, the photoflores.
Yeah, the floating
Nice.
floors.
Those hectors are a little ornery.
Oh yes. We're gonna...
Indeed.
I haven't done this in a while. I think we can just kind of... We can vibe under here for a bit. It does not look like this is enough cover, but if we hop over to these, it might be enough cover.
Yeah.
Yeah!
Should be good, I think.
Let's get them off our tail.
Yes, we're getting the below canopy indicator on screen.
Yup.
Carving through those taller trees is definitely one of my favorite sections of the game, though. Just going full blast and just tearing through that section.
Oh, yes.
Those trees are nice.
Yeah. So there's a lot of fun stuff in the flight model, but I'm really happy with how sometimes we haven't ironed out all of the kinks in terms of like taking a bad collision and kind of swerving around, but for a lot of those kind of cases where you're hitting something thin, like we worked hard to kind of make it feel like, oh, I hit it, that wasn't cool, but not like completely disrupt your experience. So I was really happy with how that stuff turned out.
I remember when those changes, I think they started going in kind of early on, like kind of early on the project, or kind of early when I got involved in the projects, and I remember those changes going in and just being like, ooh, that's nice. It makes like, flying through the mushrooms or flying through the small trees on Cobbed.
Yeah.
A little less like, ouch.
Yeah. It's been a little tough to make it feel okay when you slam like straight into a head-on wall, but we tried our best.
I don't think it should feel okay when that happens. And I think that this is what's interesting about the model for me. And I know I'm a broken record when I talk about the comparison with snowboarding, but there's so much momentum in this flight model that you're bound to make bad calls. And I think that momentum, not as developers, but as a player, when you're moving through the space, you're making bad calls. And over time, your skills improve. You understand the momentum of the jet. And that's where I think this high skill ceiling becomes interesting. And when you watch someone like Zack play, who has so much knowledge and intuition about the momentum of the jet, versus when you first start flying this thing and you can barely jump onto the canopy in the far shore because it's like, what am I doing? And you're kind of like coming to terms with how all this stuff works. And I think that sort of mastery over time, I don't know, it feels good. Personally, for me at least, I thought it also jived with the narrative arc of the game. Like, and maybe that's, I don't know, maybe I'm connecting dots that aren't necessarily there for everyone, but for me, that sort of expertise by the end of the Far Shore, and even more so by the end of Given Time, I felt like I was very much a master of this domain as a result of my time with this jet. So I don't know. I love the flight model. I don't think you guys have to make any excuses for it. I know you always will, but I love it.
Yeah,
well,
that's the thing
I think
about
we've been
making
consistent
stuff.
with it. It's like, hey, once you've tasted the Kool-Aid properly, it's a good situation. But we know that it takes a little while to like get comfortable, and so yeah. We did, like, story-wise, make some, I don't know, sort of interesting decisions where, at the beginning of the Far Shore, we find out that, like, May's memory may have been zeroed by the anchorite Selma, which helps explain why the player doesn't know how to pilot the jet. Sort of a weird, kind of funny conceit, but it does, there is this idea that, like, May wasn't chosen for being the best jet pilot. She was chosen for a bunch of reasons, some of which we don't fully understand yet. And so there is this element of, May and the player getting their feet under them, proving themselves as a jet scout over the course of the Far Shore, and then, coming into Given Time with those skills in place and, like, really achieving some stuff by the end of the campaign. So it feels nice, that arc, I think.
Yeah.
I kind of want to do this Swift Hector race again, just because it's a fun one.
Sure.
Well, how are we doing for time? And we still, we got one more. No, we got a couple more.
We've got one more of the tough eggs to go, and then we've got to head off to the final one. It looks like we've been running for about 30 minutes, so we could probably head towards...
If you got a sense of timing, do what you want to do.
Yeah. Just thinking about it.
I'm psyched to get to where we're going, but there's it's not an urgent rush.
Oh yes, there's definitely lots to just kind of vibe about. I think
on the last stream, Craig, Patrick shared with me some of the origins of the topography.
Oh, yeah.
That was really, really interesting to hear that you guys were sourcing some real world, like, topography to sort of inform some of these spaces. Like, I mean, I'm sure you modified stuff and pushed and tweaked, but one in particular, it was it the spires you mentioned, Patrick? Yeah, that one was really cool. And once,
that's Ship Rock in Arizona. Yeah. It's the main spire, and then some of the ridges around it we kept, but then I sort of I would have sunk the edges of it to kind of make that slice of an island. So there's a lot of pushing and pulling from there. And this island,
works great.
So massive,
once
is
you see it, you can't unsee it.
Yeah, it's true.
Sorry, go ahead. Soci Massive.
Soci Massive is the topography comes from Kauai, one of the big Hawaiian islands.
Yeah, that's what Patrick was saying too. Yeah, Hawaii.
Patrick and I have had this like notion. We'll see if it ever happens. Of because Patrick's in Japan, I'm in Canada. We've got kids or whatever. Wouldn't it be nice if we met in Hawaii, in Kauai, to like hang out for a little bit? And I was looking to see like, can I get an Airbnb on Scouts Prospect? Turns out no, that's a park. There's no Airbnb there. But we could drive up there and look around and see a skyline that we spent all these years, exploring.
That'd be wild. That's really cool.
Yeah.
The scales are wild though, because every valley that we've got here, a valley that might be a kilometer or two across, and on the actual island might be 30 kilometers across. So we've got a sort of like little miniature version of it, which also, yes, has been shaped and pushed and pulled and smooth and everything like that.
Yeah, and I guess we also talked about the lava waterfall. I forget what it's referred to in the game. But
the lava waterfall.
The history of that, right?
Yeah.
Can you see it from here?
Any insight, any deep lore about the lava waterfall?
The lava waterfall, it was like, I think it's called the lava fire hose as a sort of like Unity game object. It probably dates back to a time where it's just like, let's flesh out the world. Let's create unique little locations. Let's create interesting things that are inspired from nature. The lava fire hose, I forget where that is. I think it might have been in Hawaii for a period of time. There was just this like lava spout. And so it's one of those things where you're like, that doesn't look like it would be so hard to get going in some Unity particles. That one, when we kind of came in a little bit more rigorously with the game design, there's a question of like, okay, does this stick around? What purpose does it serve? Is it an obstacle? Is it related to some nearby gameplay? And it kind of never ended up lending itself to one thing or the other. And so it probably ought to have just been cut, but it wasn't hurting anybody. I mean, I guess technically it could hurt you if you got close to it. But so it was just left in as like, this is just a unique little slice that maybe very few people will be around, that coast of Soci Massive. It won't be something that everybody comes across, but it'll just be an interesting little bespoke thing.
I mean, it ties into the landmarks, which does end up kind of tying into like, if you want to complete the game, getting all the landmarks nets you an achievement. So sleep till loaming here and go grab 2 more goat bloom, and I think we'll go tackle this final brine wisp row, or this penultimate brine wisp row.
Cool.
We're gonna get some red wave action on those two, just because I think I may have skipped bolstering them earlier, because they do help with making this specific row. I think this is like one of the tricky row that you can hash that's involves waiting until a little later in the day.
Oh yeah. This one's tough.
Oh yes. Got any?
It's a good one though.
Which one are we doing? Is it the Soci volcanic?
We will be tackling that one in just a moment, but right now I'm just collecting 2 more goat bloom over here. So we need 2 phosphenes to come with us. I think we should be able to bring these over here. If not, the other 2 have shown up, so.
There's a lot going on up here.
There you go, there's one.
Yeah, there they are. They're tucked away in the little ravines. just kind of chill here for a little bit. That sound effect of the dread wave showing up is always one of those things that's like, this gives me a little bit of chills, just like being like, I'm gonna have to deal with some nasty things soon.
It is a dread wave. It had to sound dreadful.
Oh yes. And it's fairly, like, the audio profile for that is, like, fairly distinct, at least from my perspective. Oh, have we not scanned enough of these guys yet? We've not. Okay, let's head over to the shelter, and then we'll go take a look at this penultimate egg. Or row.
Yes.
This is a good one. Chances are, Zach, you're gonna nail it in first try, in under a minute. First time I did this egg, I was not so lucky.
I mean, we could do it in challenge mode, where I'm doing it entirely in the gloaming with the dread wave coming.
No. Do it your style.
Okay. Let's get after that brine wisp.
Do it. A bit of a different morning music when you wake up on this side of the island.
Oh, yeah, right.
Yeah.
I seem to recall defining zones for such things.
Well, yeah, that whole aspect was like a big collective effort of just like figuring out, okay, what a zone is what, and then I think I went in and like massaged a bunch of stuff, and then there's a bunch of different decisions that were made.
Yeah, a lot of ground to cover.
Oh yes. Okay.
Okay, so this is the place. Where is the, oh, there it is, all right.
Oh, I see.
Okay, right, and then there's all the tendrils underground.
Oh,
That's an interesting sort of game feature you guys use, and it's a spooky function, you know, like once May starts to see these things, once she starts to be able to kind of commune with these things, these networks that connect things. Anyway, I found it an interesting and elegant way for you guys to do a little bit of like video game communication, but also doing some cool sort of kind of spooky storytelling at the same time.
Yeah, I don't know if we remark on it in... Oh no, we do remark on it in dialogue when you're speaking to Jones in the far shore after the sort of transformation has taken place. But yeah, it's a neat idea, right? That after whatever happens, she's got these kind of, I don't know, extrasensory perceptions that, yeah, help connect various dots. And then it's not sort of over-explained.
Yeah, and I wonder, Richard, do you even know that it's associated with this, so Tor has this, like, interference
yeah,
big
the sort
thing
of
that kind of
Tor
sweeps
pulse,
over
yeah.
the landscape, and that kind of accentuates, like, May's ability to see this stuff, or either that or, like, excites the tendrils. I guess I'm not sure what the thematic backing is, but...
hoping that those...
Yeah, it's I definitely did notice those sort of connections, but I was always curious if there was some way to make them more visible, you know?
There's no way to boost it other than that. All right, so we're working on the puzzle.
Yep, we've got a...
uncovering some geolithic masses by punting volatile resin.
knocking out the griefer that got interested at our explosion. We'll also collecting a little bit of science data on it.
Sure is a whole lot of video game stuff going on right about now.
We sure are playing a video game. Okay, looks like
so
we did one. But I didn't hear the sound, and it does not look like it's open yet. Okay, so we've got, looks like we've got another set of roots going this direction. They're very faint. Let's take a look. Looks like we've got another goat bloom over here, and it looks like another one over here. So I'm guessing we need to bolster both of these.
Right, and one of these is pretty involved, as I recall. It's been a while.
Yeah, that one needs to be a little more involved than it is now. We shifted its space over a little bit after getting, you know, a decent amount of feedback.
Okay.
Because this does involve a lot of movement on the player's side, and getting over... Originally, you had to get over a gap while holding a heavy payload, and that's, you know, not necessarily the easiest thing in the world to accomplish.
Right, not everybody's absolute favorite thing to do.
And I would always cheese it. I would always not do the gap when I was testing it. I would find another way to do it. So pretty good indication that it needed a tweak.
Yeah.
Oh yeah, like you had to.
Yeah, this gap. Yeah.
I think technically there might actually be a little gap in the grass still from where it used to be. That's definitely a on me thing. I forgot to put the grass back.
Unship the game. Get the grass back in.
Oh, I spent so much time just staring at like the grass areas. Okay.
Yeah, it's one of your many roles as a dev powerhouse was a greenskeeper.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Let's get this grass out of the rocks. There's especially.
So you've exposed those two Goka blooms now. Now it's a matter of
finding some phosphenes.
Lighten them up. Yeah.
Yeah, it appears that we've got a couple being summoned around here, so we can chill for a little bit while these guys show up to the party. They're a little late though. Ah, there we go. There's one.
There's one.
Take a little bit to actually start manifesting in the locations that they're showing up in. Yeah, there we go.
Yeah. Phosphenes are weird entities, aren't they?
They certainly are. I definitely...
I'm not sure if I fully understand what's going on.
At some point, we probably understood.
This guy's doing a number on the shield.
Beings of light of some form? Anyway.
I feel like Richard might be able to
Are they
illuminate
three-dimensional?
Yeah, I guess you must be the expert on these, right, Richard?
Let's see if we can get a 2-for-1.
Yes, maybe there's. I could talk about the origin of the name, but
and then not give up any information. I think that's the lane here for you.
Oh, it 100% is, and the origins of some of that explanation are not suitable for a public stream. So keep them guessing.
I guess like a fun dev tidbit is that I'd met Richard and I'd seen his Twitter handle, and then sometime later I needed to come up with a name for these things, and I was like, I'll just put in Phosphine, Richard's Twitter handle and company name, and then I'll move off of it because like some other name will come around. But it's a really good name, and a really good name for this entity that is, you know, barely there. It's phosphorescent. A phosphine, I guess is the word, is when you sort of see sparkling light when you close your eyes. It's sort of like whatever your brain is constructing its visual information from the retina that does not have a picture on it. So like that's a great name, phosphine, and changing it to phosphine because it's mean. Anyway, it fit, and and now here you are.
It actually looked like you skipped that brine wisp somehow.
I used a pop at the right time.
All right, so that was a big one. That was our like penultimate, and now we've got one more brine wisp to go. Ah, spooky.
Ooh.
Hey, nice.
Let's go one last time. I'm gonna go and sleep outside of ground control, and then we're gonna head over to the final row location, which I believe, yeah, it's over in Cove.
I think it's pronounced COVID, guys.
I never got an official response to that, so you know. I guess I have it now.
Well, I guess I may be something of an authority on the subject, but I think when we were getting the script locked for voice acting as the pandemic was like going, and it was like too late to change anything, and the pronunciation had been COVID since 2014, since the name had been in the project, and it was just like, well, we're not going to change it now. I'm too busy. It's COVID, and so the voice actors, I think there might be a slight like accent or inflection on it, but I think it is still COVID.
That's so wild. I was so sure that this was just some like remote work, like, you know, you guys were just like, screw COVID. We're gonna name the icy part of the world where it's desolate and there's nothing alive. We're naming it COVID because that's how we all feel. It's wild.
No, things were so busy coming into the pandemic that like no new things happened because of the start of the pandemic. The other thing that's funny is like the plot explicitly involves, you know, going on lockdown and all these airlock ideas, you know, we kind of belabor that stuff in The Far Shore, and then sure enough, we're all talking about lockdowns and whatnot.
It certainly felt, you know,
weird coincidence,
a little bit more relatable while working on it.
Yeah, it kind of makes the whole thing like a weird time capsule. We were all battling our way through COVID on lockdown, while on lockdown battling our way through COVID. You know what I mean?
Okay.
Yeah, strange symmetry.
Hello, ground control. Goodbye, ground control.
Yeah, wow. Time for May to leave the nest, I guess.
And now we're gonna go fast.
This is reminding me a lot of the first time we trek over to Cove.
And I remember that whole sequence is like probably one of my favorite sequences from the campaign.
It flows nicely.
Yeah. And there were many issues with it at many points during development. So I've taken this trek countless times.
I know how that feels.
Yeah. Yeah, sort of an intricate, strange design with a lot of bespoke pieces on this project. And yeah, long haul to get it all kind of in the right shape.
I think it really comes together into something special, though. You guys really did something cool here. Sorry, my cat is in desperate need of a cuddle.
He's decided that it's his time to shine on the stream.
Yeah. And the thing is, if I don't give him this little bit of attention, it's gonna get nasty. So, here, buddy.
Yeah, off to COVID. Icetown.
Icybergs. Ah, the final key.
Ooh, it looks like a key.
I think I was listening to a Paul McCartney interview when I was adding a lot of these little icebergs and detailing this stuff, and now that's all I can think of.
That reminds me of like when I was originally playing through Skyrim, I decided that I wanted to listen to Pride and Prejudice on an audiobook. So now whenever I go back and like revisit Skyrim, or just whenever I see a dragon in a game, I think about the escapades of Mr. Darcy. And it's
Interesting association.
I think I also listened to Three Musketeers at another point in Skyrim too. So like Daquan, I think his name was Daquan or Darkwan. I can't remember the main character's name from that book. It's been a long time.
D'Artagnan, I feel like. D'Artagnan?
D'Artagnan, yeah, D'Artagnan. I think. Yeah, that sounds familiar. That's another wild book, and it's weird how the brain associates things.
Yeah. Yeah, it's quite a trek through all the ice.
Oh yeah. I've also just been kind of, doing I got into a flow of movement. I think the row is actually on the other side of the continent, so...
Yeah. Taking a scenic route, but
That's cool.
it's a fun one.
Yeah.
Yeah, I'm really happy with how those bergs turned out. Like, I remember, having a really early version of that stuff, Craig, that you got pretty excited about, and it was just kind of great being able to kind of go up on top and then also hop down into cracks and stuff. So.
Right, that like one terrain prototype where it was just, like what if it was ice sheets with vertical cliffs and it's just very binary instead of it being all kind of like interesting terrain to bounce off of. It's just, you can go here, you can go there, and you can't really easily traverse the cliffs.
Such an interesting flavor. To like it changes, like it's so different. It feels different than the rest of the game, and it kind of like puts a nice texture to like the ending sequences in the Far Shore.
Right. Yeah, a little contrast. Kind of a spacer, really, from the rest of the game.
Something that I also wanted to touch on that is like, I don't know, it's kind of like an accidental game loop kind of thing, but it also kind of like works pretty well with the design. I don't know if it's actually accidental. I think it might be semi-intentional, where it's like, I took partially one of the reasons why I was also thinking about taking the long routes, because A, it's fun, but B, I had also used up my entire vapor tank. And so I was like, I should probably refill this before I go do another challenge. So taking the long way is like nice and scenic, but it also has the benefit of being able to hit more vapor along the way.
Right.
Yeah. Vapor. It's a long... I don't know, is it worth saying that, like, these were initially conceived as Mario coins?
Yeah.
Anyway.
Definitely supposed to be the fun thing that you can't help but
just
go after every time you see it, and getting them in nice little satisfying lines was the idea.
They kind of help signpost fun ways to interact with the terrain, and I don't know, I think they turned out really good. And my wife's always like, ooh, sparkly stuff.
Yeah. It's a bit like popping a goat bloom, where it's like we've got these characters who are, full of heartache and feelings, but then the game is like, hey, why don't you zip around and collect
rainbows?
But it fits like I think anyway, just like there's enough sort of whimsy, even through this world that has its kind of like a heavy heart. I think it's kind of nice the way it sits together.
Yeah.
Okay, so we've arrived.
Oh, this is it, eh?
Yep, this is the final arena. It's a little bit off the shore of COVID. It's got a nice little view, or nice large view of the looming thing that we're going to be having to deal with soon.
Right. Yeah, it's way out here, this place.
Oh yeah. I think I know what I know what the solution is, but
Yeah, you may know what the solution is.
So the brine wisp appears to be on the top of that big tusk.
Oh yes, and it looks like
encased in a geolithic mass. So we got some steps. There's some steps.
Oh yes.
Yeah.
It looks like we've got resin source, an ionic pool, and I think there's a bunch of epic I keep calling them by their old
Lure
names.
limpets.
Yeah, the lure,
Lure
limpets. I think there might be some.
We went with limpets. Well, lower limpets, right?
It doesn't look like a whole lot over here. So where are these guys? Maybe.
This is one of my favorite things about Given Time is how like you just slowly build up more of a cadre of brine wisps that just show up when you're out over the ocean. Like, hey man, what's going on? Let's have fun.
Party.
Hey, it's you. You're doing great, by the way. You're doing great.
It's like I don't know. 'Cause, yeah, they kind of get a little bit like, okay guys, settle down.
Yeah, at this stage,
Let
it's
me
like
concentrate.
there's a lot of them for sure.
So, Zach, you have built yourself a enormous twister
Oh yes, and we're
to get
gonna
vertical.
ride up it with this resin.
Light the fuse, and whoa.
Let's
Yee.
not turn on the scram jets.
Okay, let's see.
It
Gotta
looks
get
like
up there.
Looks like the
Oh, wow.
twister is cooling it off. So let's ride
Yeah.
over. Kinda gotta just take a shot. This is gonna be a tricky bit.
Yeah.
This is some nonsense.
But I like these ones. I'm glad that we made the twisters cool down.
This is a really nice way. It's a bonkers way, but it's a really nice way to send off the wisps. Hey! Nice.
That's my pro tip: is don't take the shot from the top of the twister. Just go to the just go to the geolithic mass.
Yeah.
That's intense.
Yeah.
That's cool.
And this music track comes in and plays whenever we're in this area and this egg or this row is active. So it also kind of matches the tense vibes of this space.
Key acquired.
Oh my god.
Oh boy. Ooh, what's happening here?
What the heck is that?
Hello,
Oh hi.
Jones.
Oh.
Is that
She's-
Jones?
She's a brine wisp thing.
Uh-oh.
Well, this is cool.
Yeah, this is great. I think I saw some earlier iterations of this. Don't think I saw this final version. It looks awesome.
I'm so glad that I finally was able to get the little behind the scenes. This scene originally, when we had first got it implemented, this large brine wisp just kind of plops out of the ocean.
Yeah.
First drafts are never very impressive.
No.
And yeah, that was a little underwhelming. But yeah, you got it to a good spot, Zach. That was great.
Yeah, that was a lot more involved than I thought it was going to be.
Yeah, I bet. It's nothing's ever easy,
Always.
and wrangling Jones as the super brine wisp is definitely a tricky one.
Farewell, Sea Serpent Kolos, that I can never remember the name of. You joined us when we first got
Serpentine Kolos.
Serpentine Kolos, yes.
Yeah, it did have a different name for a couple years there, and but no, ended up on Serpentine.
We brought him into that area just because, thought it was a nice little touch. Because, he happened to find him when he first landed on the planet. It's kind of nice to see that he's seeing you off at the end.
Yeah, we're bookending. Feels good.
See, all these wisps have a new friend. They're not as interested in you anymore.
Yeah. They're like, you fine. Serve your purpose.
Get your personal. Right, and then close.
Hello. What is this? Ooh. Seems we've got some tulips hanging out with us. I think I know what to do here, because we've been doing this for a while.
That music.
Yes.
This
The
is
original rollers.
it's a little different than normal, though. So we're charging something.
Andy's full synth action.
This is a good sequence to kind of be towards the end of Given Time.
I haven't seen the film in a very long time, but it gives me, for some reason, it's reminding me of Close Encounters. For some reason, it's giving me those vibes in a good way. I haven't seen the movie in a long time, so I should rewatch
I
it
also
before
haven't seen that in ages. But yeah, this is a cool looking sequence. Some great Andy tunes.
This specific sequence is extremely old. I mean, in origin, so it's like, so many memories baked into this.
Yeah, we had this stood up in 2016 for that like vision build that included sort of all of the elements we thought would kind of best define the project.
It's definitely been one of those like cornerstone sequences that I personally have always. It's like, oh, this is like, setting the pace for kind of like this whole ending sequence.
Yeah, and it was always sort of in this part of the game, and so it was tough to shift the far shore and sort of not have this in the vision, but now it's here.
I mean,
It's a
fun fact, you can come here to this location in the far shore, and even earlier in Given Time, and find a budding version of this plant.
Right.
Thank you, Sally.
You can scan it, and it'll give you a little bit of information, like, just doesn't look like it's in season, not quite ready,
I think Sally even like comments on it when we're if you're doing it in the far shore. Our jet's definitely looking worse for wear. We need some TLC. When's the jet washing minigame coming out?
Team up with
I got some
Pressure
bad
Washer
news for
Pro.
you, Zach. I think this particular jet may not get a lot of maintenance beyond this point.
That's unfortunate. Oh, I love the sound effect of walking on these. Bloop, bloop, bloop.
These vines. Remember, it's probably still present, but they're emissive, kind of like pulses with
right here.
the beat of whatever's going on. Anyway, so
But
much
of course-
little attention to detail went into this stuff.
Yeah, for the ground sections, there was just an interest in pulling out as many stops as we could to
Interesting.
kind of heighten the mood.
Got some Jones action going on here.
Jones?
What are you doing in here?
Jones?
Mysteries upon mysteries. Definitely a lot of what's actually going on in May's head right now? Is this actually Jones in front of us, or are we through the looking
Nope,
glass?
goodbye.
Later.
Yep.
Cool.
Well then, I know this orb. We have to walk into this.
So,
Oh,
right. Synthesis. Zosie.
Hexagons.
Lot going on.
Oh, now we're outside.
So we had some notion, Zach, that we might be looking to sign off before kind of committing ourselves, or what do we think?
Yeah, I'm feeling like we could probably do our sign off here because we're kind of entering into the final sequence of the game, and this is kind of like the best time for that. And I think we can kind of just let the game play out.
Sounds good.
So,
Do you want to frame it up so we're looking over at towards Tor?
yeah, let's get between the pedals with the jet here. We got some big goke action. Let's get a little higher. So we can actually see it above the Angry Lotus.
So us folks will hop off, and Zach, you'll hop in the jet and do what needs to be done from here. So this is it for us.
Yeah.
The Given Time debut playthrough is almost complete. Thanks very much, you guys, by the way, for taking us all the way through like this. It's been excellent.
It's been an absolute pleasure.
Watching you guys play.
Yeah, it's been fun chatting about all the good times working on this game, and it's great seeing how well it turned out and hanging out with you guys. Maybe we'll do it again at some point, but Zach, maybe we can do our brine wisp race at some point.
Yeah, we should definitely get the folks over the QA folks, and that could be a fun stream for the future. Let's do a 4-way race and see, or 5-way race and see how fast we can just get through it.
Thumbs up. Do it.
I'm down for that.
Oh, 6-way, let's do it.
But yeah, what a project, what a run, and it's been an honor and a pleasure working alongside all of y'all, and of course,
for sure,
everybody else that we worked with on the squad and all around.
Likewise.
Too many people.
Thanks so much for all the hard work from everyone who hasn't made it here too. It's been great.
It's an incredible project, guys. You guys should be incredibly proud of what you built. I think it's really something truly special, and I feel lucky to have just done a little bit on it. But what you guys have built is truly special. And,
Cheers.
And I guess another shout out to all the people who have reached out and kind of told us how much they've enjoyed the game, and it's been great hearing from you all. And thanks so much for playing and enjoying. And people discovering this later, check it out. It's a cool game.
Yeah, it really is heartening when you find someone for whom the project just connects, and when you hear about it, it is such a treat. So yeah, thanks folks.
And to you, Craig and Patrick, thank you for letting me be, helping contribute so much to this project. It's been an absolute blast. Like, I know,
you've had quite a ride on this one, and it's been a real treat getting to know you, Zach.
Yeah, it's been amazing to get to know you.
Thanks so much.
Both of you, too. And Richard, it's been great to work with you as well, and as well everyone else that I've worked with. Shout out to like both Angelos at SkyMap and Randy Smith. Like, we also the three of us spent a good amount of time shaping a lot of the early sections of Given Time, like the puzzles of Given Time, and like the three of us in particular did. We took what you guys had, the groundwork you had laid, and like really ran with it. And,
But there's like no end once we start naming people.
Oh
like,
yes, so you just keep going.
Balloon to like so many, so it's check out the credits. Everyone there made great contributions. And
oh yes.
All right.
Okay.
Yeah.
Anyway,
Well said, folks.
Sign off.
Peace.
All right.
We will
see you on the other side.
See you later. I am gonna get into the jet now, and we're off.
Tajetaya Batware Edka Emla Demimash Kotateto.
plan of the chefs. The EU brushes the Buffy of these stuff.
Hello, Diane. Luz. Todo adorno. Hola, Renshi. Or Hemshika. Go mentalde et tomarte. Albana fut John. Hola, Renshi. Glos gazi.
Me toivin kashi shinto. Molta poshti hebatian.